All right, welcome to another edition of Vegas Bad Boys of Podcasting. I'm DJ Impact, and I got the Vegas Bad Boys here with me. We're all here this week, and it's exciting to see everyone. And welcome to all of you who are with us as well. Feel free to join us in the comments as you see fit. I'm sure you'll have a lot of opinion, and we'll make sure to get that on as we see fit. With that, if you're just listening to the podcast, you're not able to join us live. Thank you for downloading and listening to that as well. All right, I feel like we got a lot on our mind, so let's get right into our 3 count. Let's go. It's time. Vegas Bad Boys of Podcasting present
1, 2, 3.
Count Talk.
Count Talk, baby.
All right. Let's get into our first count.
1.
Titled Sasha Banks and Naomi's Walkout raises questions about their WWE futures. And this is from sportsillustrator.com. All right. This is how it reads. It says, what's next for Sasha Banks and Naomi? Sasha Banks and Naomi are the reigning WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, but it appears they will not be the case for much longer. It says that Banks and Naomi walked out of Raw on Monday over a creative dispute that included the direction of that night's show, as well as their future together. After receiving assurances from Vince McMahon over the past few months that there would be a renewed focus on the women's tag team titles, which should be the case when someone with star power of Banks is involved, that has yet to happen since the duo won the belts over a month ago at WrestleMania 38. With frustration mounting, Monday's Raw served as the breaking point. Banks and Naomi ultimately returned their tag titles to John Laurinaitis, who is the head of talent relations, then walked out. So how exactly did this happen? The plan for Raw was a 6-pack challenge match that would have ended with Naomi winning, including pinning Banks and becoming the #1 contender for the Raw Women's title. She would have challenged Bianca Belair for the title at the Hell in a Cell on June 5th. A match where all signs pointed to Belair winning. A pay-per-view match against Belair will, even if ended in defeat, could have been a major moment for Naomi. But she and Banks are taking a long-term risk by walking out, which is viewed as one of the biggest sins in pro wrestling. Now, McMahon and co. were quick to react. They did so publicly. WWE released a statement and had Corey Graves criticize their walkout on air during Raw. WWE's official statement was undoubtedly designed to damage the reputation of Banks and Naomi, especially when stating Banks and Naomi, quote, claim they were uncomfortable in the ring with 2 of their opponents, even though they had matches with those 2 individuals in the past with no consequence, end quote. Out of a dozen members of the WWE roster who spoke to Sports Illustrated for this story, no one believed that Banks and Naomi felt unsafe with any of their opponents in the match. But all those who spoke with Sports Illustrated agreed that walking out comes with negative consequences and that neither Banks nor Naomi endeared themselves to the locker room with their decisions. So walking out is an absolute last resort. Typically, it comes with negative consequences. I mean, Stone Cold Steve Austin walked out on Raw in 2002, and it took him a long time before he returned to McMahon's good graces. To this day, Austin refers to that decision as a critical mistake. But this is in 2002, and Austin isn't involved. There are options available now that others simply didn't have in the past when walking out. And for those who have followed Banks for the duration of her career, it was a wise policy to never, ever bet against her. Now, Banks met with Vince McMahon before returning her title. Sources close to the situation confirmed to Sports Illustrated, and walking out closes this particular chapter of Banks' career. But she is simply too big of a draw for WWE to lose. So while it's within the realm of possibility that McMahon could cut Banks and Naomi, it remains an unlikely proposition. As proven by her work in The Mandalorian, Banks is a star with or without WWE, a fact that undoubtedly has not lost on McMahon. So to conclude, the view of this writer is that Banks will be back by the fall with a raise. WWE may try to replace her, but that will prove to be an unattainable pursuit. Naomi, meanwhile, is in a difficult position. She's the wife of Jimmy Uso, who's part of the Fame bloodline, WWE's most influential group behind the scenes and led by Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman. and the potential exists that McMahon would treat her similarly to the way Paul Triple H Levesque was punished following his involvement in the quote curtain call from May of '96. And McMahon couldn't make an example of his champion, Shawn Michaels, who was involved in the infamous moment. So Triple H was the one who lost his push. He eventually overcame that obstacle, but there's no guarantee that the same will ultimately be said for Naomi, an extremely talented performer who would benefit tremendously from a consistent push from McMahon and his team. All right, let's get right into it. Simon Street, you wanted to point something out about this entire craziness that went on. I'm going to let you kick it off. What is your take?
So when I first published this was literally, I think it was either Monday night, Tuesday morning, something like that. So a lot has happened even since then as it's been reported. So that's why, as Impact was reading it, you can see the way it was read at first was fresh after the walkout. I immediately was like, this is a work. And there's a huge part of me that feels this is still a work to a certain extent. But since that time, I kind of look at it as, okay, let's look at this twofold, right? On one end, if this is a work, this is probably WWE's best work to date to basically fabricate and make up a walkout, make sure you tie up all the loose strings of social media with the changing of, Sasha Banks' Twitter account now says Mercedes. And then as the same with Naomi as well, tying up loose strings of saying it publicly, on SmackDown, as well as mention it during the show. If this is the case, this is pure, sheer fucking genius. But on the other hand, if this isn't, this is going to be quite an interesting situation for WWE, because what they never, ever counted on, because in this article, they talked about other people who walked out. Another person who also didn't quite walk out, but did make some statements demanding things be changed. And they later fired him quite unceremoniously while he got married. And that was a CM Punk. So the interesting thing about that is Sasha Banks is literally on her way up. She is already ascending to a John Cena Rock type of trajectory right now. And
can I ask you a question?
Yeah,
and even the article was giving props to Sasha as saying, look, she's going to probably be okay. She's I guess been in the Mandalorian and other events she will be a part of, or whatever the case may be. She's going to be okay. But I would assume she would know that Naomi is not in that situation. Why talk her into at least? Maybe Sasha could have been the one that just dropped that belt and be like, I'm done. And Naomi is looking like, I don't agree with it. I mean, why? What would you take on that?
Well, the reason why Naomi did this, first and foremost, there's some reports that are saying that it was a mutual agreement between the both of them. They both had a conversation. It was equally both desired to do the same thing first and foremost. But also, too, you have to realize Naomi is not in a bad situation. For the longest time, even us four gentlemen have stated that Naomi has never really gotten a solid push. And as a female competitor in the WWE, she has been not only one of the most top athletic. She's always, whenever she's held the belt, it's been real. It's been good. It hasn't been the top. And so she was always somebody that needed that push and never got it. So the interesting thing about all of this goes back to what this article said. If this is true, that the deal was that they would get a better push, not only as tag team competitors, but also to elevate, which WWE and Vince McMahon have not done, the WWE Women's Tag Team as a championship has been a mockery. The only times that has actually been taken seriously is in both occasions when you've had Bayley and Sasha Banks holding that belt and going to places like NXT to face other people, going to SmackDown.
Right.
They seem like they get momentum and they get cut short because, again, I'm going to say it like it is. I believe, is my perspective, what I'm sharing is that WWE does not view the women's tag team as an actual priority. And so if that's coming to truth, this is a great thing that will happen not only for that women's division, not because there's going to be a tournament, but because this is going to be a holding pattern. And basically, Vince McMahon is going to be thinking, look, how much do I got to pay you, right? When they say suspended indefinitely, most likely that means we're going to recondition or renegotiate your contracts. And I don't think it's just going to be Sasha. I think it's going to be her and Naomi to make good on it, because it almost looks like egg on the face of WWE. It really, really does. I mean,
let me
they're
get
going
in
to have
here.
to come out of it. So I'll leave it at that.
Let me get here. Cincinnati, let me just ask you right quick. Before any of us knew that this was going to take place, there were many times I was watching their matches, and I would often think to myself, I'll just go, first off, it always seems like that between the two, Naomi was the one that was mostly in the ring. Mostly she would win, but she would take the loss as well. But it wasn't really tons of Sasha. Since this group has been created, I hadn't seen a lot of work with Sasha with this tag. It was really a lot with Naomi. Every week, I always was seeing mostly Naomi. I now when you think about it, I guess maybe there was something there that I guess they saw more of it that I guess I don't pay attention to now when I look back. But what's your perception of what you think took place this past Monday night?
So ultimately, the fact of it is this: we all know how Vince McMahon views tag team wrestling by this point. We all know how Vince McMahon views women's wrestling at this point. So it's pretty fair to guess that we can put into a priority list where exactly in the giant pecking order of everything WWE, where a women's tag team division falls in order of Vince McMahon's order of preference. Okay. I think it's pretty safe to say that, the division has been an afterthought since nearly the beginning. And it doesn't take, it's not rocket surgery. You know what I mean? It's not something that it's difficult to figure out. At the end of the day, they were not put in a great position. Obviously, both members of the women's tag team championship team were slated to go to Hell in a Cell and lose to the respective champions of the brands. So obviously Ronda was going to go over, Belair was going to go over. So realistically, that was what they cooked up in their minds that they were going to do for this pay-per-view. Now, one thing that is very telling also is the fact that Hell in a Cell is going to be the only non-stadium show for the next couple of months. Because keep in mind, they're running Money in the Bank at Allegiant Stadium.
Right.
And then they are also running in July as well. They're also running SummerSlam. So realistically, Hell in a Cell has become that Band-Aid pay-per-view, premium live event.
Yes.
And so as a result, they don't want to use these bullets in the gun that they have, to give these great matches that realistically could draw.
Yeah.
Now, I think that one thing that we haven't talked about necessarily is how this specifically was handled. It's one thing to complete an angle and, leave after the end of the show. It's another thing entirely to leave during the middle of the show while the show is ongoing and then just, expect for them to rewrite the rest of the show and to figure it out. So definitely, I think that there should have been a little bit more professionalism. Now, I saw a lot of stuff online where a lot of people were complaining that, the fact that they brought it into the public this much and made this much of an ordeal of it is just the fact that it's a work. Realistically, I don't necessarily think that it is. But if it is, kudos to the writing team because it's got everyone talking.
Yeah.
And that's something that we all have to keep in mind. Now, the other thing that I'll mention is, in terms of people like Austin walking out and not doing the job for Brock Lesnar. That was done extremely early on in the day. And keep in mind, Steve Austin is Steve Austin. No offense meant to Naomi or Sasha Banks.
Yeah.
But it would take a lot for either one of them to contribute as much to the business as Stone Cold Steve Austin did. So realistically, I have a problem with how they were booked. I have also a problem with how they executed the walkout and the civil disobedience of not taking part in the angle and the storyline. So it's just a bad situation overall.
Yeah.
And hopefully they're able to patch this thing up, because it would absolutely suck for WWE to lose Sasha Banks, because she ain't going to AEW. She's going to Hollywood if she's going anywhere.
No doubt. Let me ask you, Mr. Michaels here. I mean, some would say that, when it comes to change, and a lot of change that is happening over, generations, but even within the last century, even in America, when change is happening, it's always something that could be extreme. It could be something that you have to do something to make some noise to grab somebody's attention, because having that talk, having that one-on-one doesn't seem to be working. So I got to do something to grab your attention. And for others to go, boy, that was really dumb. In their mind, they're going, we have to make that change. And if we're saying that if the tag titles is something that has been being a joke, and maybe they've already had this discussion that they don't want this women's title to be a joke. They want this to be something taken a little bit more serious. And it was talked about that, okay, we'll get there, but they see that it's going the total opposite way. What is your take? Would you still agree with what actions they take as they're trying to make this change? Or do you say, no, it was still fucking wrong, goodbye?
Did you ever walk out of your job?
I did once.
Did you go back?
Yep, got my job back too. But that right there was a huge gamble, and I had way more leverage than this situation.
See, that's the whole thing. What fascinates me that everyone thinks that, they're a wrestling booker or a fucking insider or blah blah blah. These two performers have been with the company both over a decade. You have no fucking excuse for this. If you felt that the tag team championships were not being taken seriously or whatever, then you know what you do? You go out there and you make every fucking match that you're given look great. That's it. You show the value in those championships and force them to book better matches for you. Now, Sasha Banks and Naomi have had both had the championship for the women's division, so they're good, but they are not Charlotte, Becky, Ronda, or Bianca. So, and
wow.
quite honestly,
wow.
We're not.
Go ahead and finish.
Let me ask you this:
Would you not even
put Sasha? No, hold on. Would you even not put Sasha in that group?
No.
Wow.
Okay.
The only thing Sasha Banks has ever done is lose in the main event of WrestleMania and pass off the championship. There you go.
Okay.
Very simple. If you look at it like this, but you said it yourself.
I hear you.
Go to Hollywood. She could go to Hollywood. That's great. But in terms of this company right now, she is not one of the top 4 women's wrestlers.
What? Did you really just say that?
Well, then let me ask you this. Simon, who would you take off that list that he named in terms of the 4? If
I would say right now, truth be told, who's going to be taken off of that list is going to be Becky Lynch, because she has been slagging. Thank goodness Asuka came back to be able to get involved. I'm just being real. You're not being real. You're a fucking Sasha Banks. No, I'm not a Sasha Banks. Okay, so here's the thing. Okay, so at the end of the day, why did they pick Sasha to go do the Mandalorian? How can they pick Becky? Becky has more on-film experience than any of the 4 horsewomen.
What the fuck are you talking about?
No, I'm
You're
saying
not talking about the Mandalorian. I just fucking said that
I'm
she can
talking
go to
about-
Hollywood, right? I said that. I said
right, so
in
let me
this
ask you this
company
question.
right now, she is not one of the top 4 wrestlers,
she is the
women
top
wrestlers
4.
right
She
now.
is the top 4. I'm gonna tell you right.
just to ask-
Even over Bianca, and the reason why I'll say this is because
Even
people
over
who have
Bianca?
matches. I will tell you, the people that have
Shut up.
matches with Charlotte, Becky, Sasha Banks, or Bayley when she's there have all benefited from those matches. Now, I'm not taking nothing away from Bianca and where she's going to go, but she hasn't gotten to that status of even closely being a ring general, or even getting to the point to where any person that has a match with her is going to get elevated. That's what I'm saying.
You know what? And what happened at SummerSlam this past year? Who was supposed to wrestle Bianca and didn't?
Because she had COVID. You're going to blame somebody for having COVID?
That was never proven. And
Oh my
no
gosh.
one has
Oh
ever
my-
come out and said she had COVID. That person in Sasha Banks has fucking thrown fits in the hallway after WrestleMania.
That's no
crying
different
her
than
ass
Roddy
off all night.
Piper. That's no different than Hulk Hogan. That's no different than Macho Man. That's no different than the Ultimate Warrior. That's
What
no
the
different
fuck
than
are you
Stone Cold Steve
talking
Austin.
about?
I'm just telling you, the
This
history of
isn't-
WWE, the best people have been the people bitching and throwing fits. Vince don't want to lose her. I'll shut up because I'm tired of taking your time.
Well,
No,
we
you're making me sick because you have no fucking clue what you're talking about.
Well, then
Randy
continue to
Macho
deep
Man
throat and
Savage
choke
throwing
on
fits
reality,
backstage?
brother. Yeah, I'm
What are
telling
you
you.
talking
I'm
about?
telling you, you're dead wrong, bro. You're dead wrong.
You
Come
are
on.
fucking insane.
She is one of the top 4. Look at the record. Look at the record compared to what we have now. That's not.
let me
Yeah,
ask you.
she's so
Oh.
good that they made her the tag team champion. Because guess what? She's not one of the fucking top wrestlers in the company right now.
So what if you find out that this whole time that we've had these incidents with Sasha Banks because she's been the number one proponent of wanting to elevate the women's tag team titles? What if that's the number one thing? She don't give a shit about doing anything else but raising that up.
Can I? Hey, so let me.
Against two. Who are the tag? You have to build it. I said, if you fucking listen, I said, if she was professional, they would have fucking elevated the belts themselves.
Okay.
They didn't. Complain. Fucking stop complaining.
It has everything to do with the WWE does not care about women's wrestling as it is.
Let me ask you this.
That's the core fact of this. You won't even sit there and say it.
The
They don't give a
WWE
shit
doesn't
about
care
the
about
women.
wrestling,
They
but
don't give a
women's
shit
wrestling.
about women's wrestling.
Really?
They don't give a shit.
Really?
They only like it when it's trending. When it's trending and women are up,
What
they're
the
great. But
fuck
when
are
the
you
women want to
talking
fucking
about?
grow, when the women want to grow in their division, I'm sorry. Here's your ceiling.
Simon. We got just right. We got Chris that says
we
got Chris. Hey, Chris says, hey, he said, Michael speaking the truth here. Sasha hasn't done anything in at least 3 years. And he says all 4 of those women Michael's mentioned all have one thing in common. They have all evented WrestleMania night. Is that a good point right there, Simon? I mean, because remember, I just wanted to ask you, it's really difficult to say that Sasha doesn't seem like she should be a part of the top 4, but there are facts also that must be looked into. And this was one of the ones that was brought up. I mean, if this is true, when it is true, does she then need to be in the top 4 that is mentioned? Just based on this comment.
Based on this comment, the last 3 years, she has not done anything, as you would say, in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I agree with Michaels. But here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
When you elevate any product, you have to look at 2 types of people you're trying to garner. The people who are your regulars and the people that aren't. And I'm going to be honest with you. Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks just made women's wrestling relevant among people who don't even watch women's wrestling because of what they did over WrestleMania. Now, counteract that one.
Now, Ultra Sports Talk said, hey, how can they elevate the tag titles if they're being put in single matches?
I agree with that 100%. That has a lot to do with.
So I guess the question is becoming is, do they have is anybody on their side and seeing why they did what they did? Or is it just looking at it in terms of, hey, you just don't walk out on the business and that's just the way it is?
There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people supporting them. A lot of people. You have Bayley, Pamela, who's supporting her. You have people like FTR that over at AEW are supporting her. you're having lots of people. You're gonna start seeing Porter because this is bigger than just a walkout. Don't get me wrong. It sucks that you had to be unprofessional, but if you're gonna prove a point, because this is bigger, because WWE,
What point are they
Vince McMahon,
proving?
Let me finish. The point is this:
Spit it out.
WWE half-asses the women's revolution. They half-ass women's wrestling. It's always been a thing to where,
Really?
we're gonna go ahead and push you when it's good business.
How's
for
it
us.
working for the other company?
The other company is still trying to get their bearings under them. I've never once said that
So then
doesn't
who
know how to work with them.
elevated women's wrestling in this world then?
Who's revolutionizing it right now have been those four horsemen.
I'm sorry. I'm
Sasha's
sorry.
been
I'm
one
sorry.
of them.
Go. Well, no. See, you keep every time a good point is made, you go and you basically go, yeah, right. He just said something that's right. I better say something else.
No,
The
I'm
truth
not
of the
saying
matter
that.
is that
I'm answering your
WWE
question.
has elevated the women
They
bigger than
half-ass,
they've ever
half-ass,
had in their whole
half-ass.
fucking careers.
Half-ass Vince McMahon, because at the end of the day, a lot of these women.
Hey,
I'll tell you.
hey,
a lot of these
wait.
women
Wait.
are gonna be elevated and wanting more.
No. Let me speak.
Sin
Go
City,
ahead.
pass me the popcorn.
Tell me
Go ahead.
right now. Tell me right now. They're half-assing it, right? Okay. So, what the fuck do you do on your program then that isn't half-assing it?
What do? First of all, you kind of look at see what's happening outside of your show and see like, okay, look, at the end of the day, okay,
Outside of your show is the standard
I'm answering your
for
question. I'm
making
answering your
women
question.
fucking
answering your
show up
question.
in the fucking thing.
My apologies if my first 4 words were not conducive to what you wanted me to answer. Can I finish the rest of my statement, please, sir?
If you can speed it up here, we've been talking for 30 fucking minutes about this.
Whatever.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, what you need to do with your show is, number one, is realize that a lot of the best matches that have been somewhat consistent have been some of your women. And there's a lot of women who have potential on your brand who have not really gotten the chance to have it because you're not throwing everything at them to help them develop. You're not. There's been tons. Freaking Rhea Ripley. That's one person that right now you putting her in a freaking Judgment Day, which isn't
You're
horrible.
putting her next
At the
to
end
a
of the day,
fucking
she's a
Hall
fuck-
of Famer.
But look what the work that you had her go through with freaking Charlotte. Look at the great match Naomi had with Charlotte.
Yeah, and guess what? She's only like 26 fucking years old, dude. She has time.
Well,
Who
you know
else?
what?
Who
Let me
else
be the
that is
logical
not?
one.
That
Let's
is
move
not
on.
fucking Rhea
Let's
Ripley.
move
That
on. Let's
you
move
can tell
on.
me Nikki
Let's move
Ash.
on.
You
Let's
Nikki
move
Ash
on.
and fucking
Let's
Dewdrop.
move on. Let's move on.
Okay,
That happened to
all
make
right,
a different
all
show. Let's
there
move
you
it
go.
on.
All right. Whew. I forgot I got that bill. Whew, my bad. Whew. All
You
right.
gotta keep this shit under control, Impact.
I'm sorry. Guys, I apologize. I forgot I have the controls here. Okay. Good stuff. It's nothing like a
That was fun, though. I thought that was a lot of fun.
all right. Let's move over into our second count here. Now this is where about to be really tough here for Sin City Steve. He's about to get his attitude on. So let's go into that one. It's titled Tony Khan takes shots at WWE creative process while talking about his own. And this is from CageSideSeats.com. It reads, Forbes recently released the above, well, there's a video interview with AEW owner, President Booker Tony Khan, which was released on May 16th. And it appears to be a longer version of a conversation Tony Khan had with the magazine last year, but much of it is general enough that it is still relevant. The section making the rounds on the Wrestle Web comes from the 3 minutes closing section, Tony Khan's creative process. As you read this quote, you'll understand why. And this is a lot of quote here, so let's get to it. This is what he says. When we started AEW Dynamite in October 2019, I had never officially written a wrestling TV show. All of my experience writing TV shows and wrestling have been exclusively imaginary, and all those episodes of Dynamite and Rampage, for that matter, were shows that I had been creating at home for fun as a hobby. When it came to practical TV writing experience, I didn't have it. So I did lean more on people around me, and I would try to trust my instincts, but it's hard when you don't have as much experience. And I do take a lot of pride in booking. I work with a lot of really smart people. What I think I do a good job of being organized, dealing with a lot of different people and going to for ideas. I have a lot of great creative minds that are in the company that I could have full-time access to, like Chris Jericho and Christian Cage and John Moxley has great ideas. And now CM Punk and Brian Danielson, Adam Cole have come in with great ideas. I try to keep it all organized and balanced, and I found it's helped me a lot writing of the shows myself. I don't really understand the idea of having a lot of different people write the show, and then a person will go in that day of and rip it to pieces and try to come up with new ideas. To be honest, when I hear about somebody going in and they have a TV show on Monday that they rip up, my first thought is, well, what were you doing all weekend? Because I work my ass off on the weekends. So I don't do anything myself, but I do make the final decisions on everything. I put the format together. I put an outline of what the show is going to be for Dynamite and Rampage. I write it by hand, and I don't understand why you're going to come in and rip up a show that you should have a pretty good idea what it is. You should have approved. You should have approved it where Monday we know what we're doing. Things change on the day of the show. Not that I never change my mind on the day, I do, but not where I'm going to change everything. I might change one or two things around on instinct or because something happened. But for the most part, like I like to have a good idea of what is going to be on the show next week and the week after. I really believe that fans like that we try our best not to insult their intelligence. Sorry about that. I do try to make the shows compelling and also logical. And I think that's one of the challenges because a lot of times people come to you with ideas, and it's hard because everyone's got their own approaches and their own philosophies, but there's a tone to the show. So I really just want people to go out and make the points and keep the stories going. But I'm not so autocratic that I want to control every word somebody says on television. And I think that's also why some of our interviews, our storytelling and promos are really strong, I believe, in quote. Now, most folks, um, it says most folks reading about wrestling on okay. I think that's pretty much it. We'll just stop there. It looked like they were writing some other stuff here. Okay. So that's on title. Tony Khan takes shots at WWE creative process while talking about his own. Mr. Michaels, this was your article. What's your take on it?
So the reason it's my article is because I just love the brutal honesty of I only had experiencing making shit up in my head. I think that is brilliant. It just goes to show you that when you are a billionaire and you have no friends and you're very isolated, that this is the kind of thing that you do. You make shit up. And you know that in itself.
Yeah.
That was good one.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Good point. Yeah.
No, this is a good point. It says we from Ultimate Sports Talk said we had an awful Serena D promo this week. Maybe someone should spend more time controlling words. And you know that's the thing. The thing is that Tony Khan likes to, you know, anytime he can basically say that he is a better booker than you know the WWE or anyone else. Apparently, you know Ted Turner. That he knows what he's doing, but yet he contradicts and says he doesn't know what he's doing. Thank God he has people around him who know what they're doing, like CM Punk and John Moxley and Chris Jericho. Oh, all the guys who are in the WWE, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So you're putting down the way one thing is done, but yet at the same time, you're taking advice from all the guys who have gone through that system and know what makes that system successful.
Yeah.
And I
also
think
what,
that
and also what doesn't make it successful.
exactly. Sure. Sure. That's the thing too. You pull stuff out that doesn't make it successful. And that's the thing. The biggest thing that wrestling fans today will not own up to, and that is, and whether it's the argument we just had about, you know, the tag team championships, or, you know, talking about, you know, certain gimmicks, Retribution comes to mind. That really fucking failed, right? What you have to, though, counterbalance is the fact that the company, if this was so bad, if Vince McMahon was as bad at this as it's, wrestling fans like to make it seem, then the WWE wouldn't have lasted past 1996. It's just a fact. And I think that the one thing that Tony Khan, I think, gets wrong is this. He needs to focus more on the operations in the office. Don't make it about the booking, because you just hired a guy in Regal who could be fucking one of your head guys, just lining everything up and doing the process. You could oversee it, you could give approval, but focus on the business end and building that fucking audience. Because that's one of the things he doesn't say anything about, ironically enough, in this. Vince is a horrible booker. He'll just rip shows up, blah, 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 blah. That's good. What is Vince doing, on the other hand, that you're not doing? And that is, even in this time with declining ratings, they're still turning the biggest profits as a company that they've turned in the history of their company. So you can rip down all you want the creative, but the truth of the matter is that the business structure is set for a long term and has been since they went public. Tony Khan has never gone public with his figures. We don't know if he has a successful company outside of just knowing ratings and pay-per-view buy rates. So are they turning a profit? We don't know this stuff. But the one thing Tony sure makes us aware of is, I didn't know what I was doing, but I do. So it's great. Yay.
Yeah. Well, let's go right over to you then. Sin City, what is your take on this story?
I view this as somebody who sees his faults, and whether he chooses to act on it is a completely different thing. I think that it's very, very interesting, very telling that Tony Khan is doing everything that he can to not be Vince McMahon, when in all actuality he is becoming Vince McMahon. And it's happening right exactly before our eyes. Of course, Tony Khan has said that he gives the final approval on everything. Who else do we know in the wrestling industry and in the business that does that as well for his brand? And it's not just one show that Vince McMahon writes every single week, sometimes 2 and 3 times, because he rips them up. But yeah, Tony, he has the final approval on Dynamite, on Rampage, and he said that he's going to be booking ROH too. So yeah, have fun with that. And just to go back to a comment that was made earlier about the Serena Deeb promo, and that maybe we should have maybe someone should spend more time controlling words. Quite frankly, I agree. Ultimately, they had to give this type of a promo. This Serena Deeb promo was the first time, I believe, that they've given her a microphone for an extended period of time outside of just having her shoot a pre-tape in the back. And now we see that delivering these types of promos are not her strong suit. So hopefully they'll give her either bullet points, or they'll go ahead and actually script out lines for her to say if she has this type of an opportunity again.
Ironically, on that point too, if you think about it, when she was in the WWE, her biggest potential and biggest showcase was shaving her head and becoming part of Punk's thing, where you had a talker. So
yep, exactly.
That is a very good point, Steve.
And so the other thing to keep in mind, I think that this somewhat plays into our first count as well, because you kind of have to wonder this specific incident, not count 2 playing into count 1, but the Serena Deeb thing. You have to think how much of the motivation to actually air that promo was on the heels of what happened on Monday, where you had 2 very, very notable and influential women walk out of a company, and you're gonna. We already said, we said it in Wrestling Talk. If you didn't hear it already, that the show ran long, and so they had to cut into certain things. One thing that they didn't cut whatsoever was this promo. So this one was definitely high up on the priority list. Was that done because of the fallout of what happened with Sasha and Naomi? Because obviously there had to be the lines from Serena about shaving her head and putting breast implants into her body, and the sacrifices that she made for her career. So it's very interesting how everything just kind of plays together without playing together.
Right.
No, I didn't intentionally give a scissors, but but yeah, it's one of those things that I genuinely hope that TK hands off some of the final sign off, or the final stamping, if you will, of on-screen storylines or promos or scripting of words to other people that can help him, and he actually can delegate. That's going to be the biggest thing on whether or not AEW succeeds, is whether or not Tony Khan is able to delegate these things to other people.
Absolutely. And Simon Street, I guess if you're definitely going to delegate, you want to definitely have some trust in someone to be able to, you believe that it would be able to, handle the creative process. But let me ask you though, is that really, Simon Street, is it really something to criticize someone who does, for whatever reason, Vince McMahon been in this business for a long time? And I think even though something may be written out and he feels strong about it on the night before, gut feeling is saying, nah, I'm not going to go along with it. Should you really be looked down at that for making those type of decisions? Because even if Tony hasn't done that yet, maybe there would be a moment where he feel that it will.
No, I don't think that he should criticize him. Many would say to beat the man, you got to beat the man. Well, I'll add to that and say that you're going to get the same opportunity when you're about to beat the man when you get to the crossroads and do something different. But just make sure when you roll that dice and you take that first step in that direction, that you're willing to live with your convictions and decisions. And that's what Tony Khan's going to come up to, because let's be real. In a matter of big bank take little bank, he got bigger bank, at least in his own pocket. So he's going to come to a decision where, like you just said, in that moment, is he going to come up to those decisions where he's going to go right, Monday night, like, oh shit, I got to rip this up. We got to start from scratch. He probably will. But I hope that he'll start having proper people around him. Not that he doesn't already, but people who can handle more of the business side, delegate so he can take some of those hats off, so he can focus in on 2 things: taking a step back, seeing your business and how it can grow organically without having to bring in people from WWE. No offense to those people in the future coming over. But also, too, find a way for you to diversify what you've started. Find new avenues. And I think that Tony Khan does have that mind frame, but he's going to have to do a lot of different things in the next couple of years, because WWE is a hard mountain to topple. But you got to start step by step. And I think that this article, I will say I liked it, because he did one thing that Vince McMahon has never done. Appear to be human. Vince McMahon, even in his documentaries where he puts on that bullshit, I felt bad about all these different things that happened, and no, that's bullshit. Vince McMahon selling tapes and shit. He ain't 100% honest. This man basically said, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I got him kudos for that. And if he really does mean that, he'll fix some things.
Yeah. All right. With that, we'll go over into our count 3. And this one is titled Backstage WWE Office Updates on Stephanie McMahon and Triple H. And this is from WrestlingInc.com. This is how it reads. While there is no time frame for her return, Stephanie McMahon will resume her duties at WWE's Chief Brand Officer in the future, according to the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter. It was also noted that Paul Triple H Levesque, he returned to his office duties full-time after suffering a cardiac event last year. During his absence, Stephanie was apparently forced to take on many of his responsibilities. Now, Dave Meltzer reports that Stephanie's leave of absence was absolutely her choice, and the decision to step away from WWE for a while have been made some time ago. And this is not something Stephanie decided to do yesterday, nor does it sound like she was forced or pressured to relieve her duties. And although Stephanie was contemplating taking a break for some time, it was also noted that virtually no one within WWE knew about Stephanie's impending exit, except for a few who remained tight-lipped until Stephanie released the info on Twitter. And this echoes reports from yesterday about who within WWE knew this was coming. And they say yesterday, yes, this article came out on May 20th. It says, in Stephanie's tweet, she mentioned that she was taking time away to focus on her family, although that this is a big part of the reason for her departure. It was also stated that there is likely more to it, and the few people who knew weren't saying much, except that some of the basic reasons being given are not accurate. As far as what Stephanie's decision means for the future of WWE at this point, there's only speculation. The newsletter also confirmed what WrestleNomics reported last night, that WWE President and Chief Revenue Officer Nick Khan will be taking over most of Stephanie's duties with immediate effect. Furthermore, all those who previously reported to Stephanie will now be reporting to Khan. So Stephanie McMahon has been the public face of WWE for nearly 2 decades. Besides being the CBO, she is the member of the WWE's board of directors, and aside from Vince McMahon, she remains the only original McMahon family member actively working for the company. Stephanie also owns 2.5% of WWE stock, which is valued around $116 million. And with that, Sin City Steve, this was your article, man. What's your take on it?
Well. This is quite interesting, huh? So, yeah. So obviously, Triple H has resumed his duties, his office duties full time, and now Stephanie is taking some time away from the business and from WWE as a whole. It's complete speculation as of right now as to just how long she's going to be gone. The article did mention that. The thing that I find interesting is that of all people, it's going to be Nick Khan who takes over Stephanie's roles and duties within the offices of WWE. I saw a meme immediately after this whole story came out, and it was if you guys have ever played Mortal Kombat, after you're completing the ladder mode, after you win a match, you've got the photo of the fighter, and it just moves up, and it just keeps on going up this ladder. And yeah, so Nick Khan's photos climbing up that ladder at WWE pretty quick.
Yeah.
Already passed Shane, already passed Hunter, now he's past Steph. So yeah, we're getting close to final boss territory. And again,
he's gonna kill off God.
What's that?
He's gonna kill off God.
Oh, jeez. No, I think that it's if it's health related, either physical or mental health related for Stephanie, I hope that she takes whatever steps that she needs to get everything straightened out with her life. Or whatever's going on behind the scenes, because it's completely, it's complete speculation at this point. However, it's very interesting that another thing happened. Stephanie takes some time away, and they just so happen to bring in somebody else that has experience being a chief brand officer.
Mm-hmm.
That was a joke, obviously. I'm talking about Brandy fucking Rhodes. And that's who's going to be coming and resuming Stephanie's duties, I'm sure. is Brandy Rhodes will be the chief brand officer, or excuse me, the chief brandy officer of WWE, in just further proof that we are living in a fucking simulation, ladies and gentlemen.
You do realize, Steve, as soon as you brought up her name, the eyes on the product just went down on our clicker. So that's how
On
poison
her
it is.
clicker? Did you just say down on her clicker?
On our clicker.
Oh, I thought you said her clicker.
The eyes watching us. Well, yeah. Well, Cody hasn't gone down on her clicker since she's had a little kid. So. And now they went up. See, we talk about
Ta-da!
we talk about clicking.
All right.
Well, would you say that would be the countdown to Cody?
Oh, Jesus.
It could be. I mean,
Hey.
Cody definitely found her click.
Hey, whatever that countdown was, by the way, it definitely worked because the third-hour ratings were higher than hour number 2 last week on Raw. So look for that shit to happen every week going forward.
It's the Cody countdown.
Well, let me ask you, Simon Street, what's your take on this? You know, Stephanie saying, "Hey, I mean, I want to take some time off and be with the family." I mean, is that kind of weird to kind of be happening right now, or you just think she wants some time off?
I'm gonna preface this a little bit because when I first saw this, why was there a part of me that said, "Oh, this is normal"? You see, Shane for a little bit, he goes away. Then you see Triple H for a little bit, he goes away. Then you see Stephanie goes away. It's kind of like a bad case of herpes. They always come back, don't they? So, at the end of the day, not saying Stephanie McMahon is a herpes. I'm just saying, just in general, they always come back. But my point is, one great thing I want to say about this is kudos to her taking the time off, because none of us can even imagine what it feels like to almost lose your significant other and still maintain the family business, per se. That had to be completely emotional overload for her. And even Triple H said it in his interview with Stephen A. Smith. She is the rock of our family. So let's add that to her regular duties. Mm-hmm. You have brand officer. You have the Rock in the house. And we don't mean Dwayne Johnson. We mean she is the Rock. And you had to worry about losing your husband in such an abrupt fashion, So shout out to her as a human being, as an individual. I hope that she takes the needed time that she has to take off for whatever reason it is. And I'm sure she'll be back. With regards to Nick Khan, I will be honest with this. Nick Khan, when I first heard about him, I didn't have much to say. But after really doing some research and looking into a little bit what he has to offer, this actually is the best thing that could happen to WWE. And we're going to find out in the next 5 years. Because we've always used to talk about for the longest time, once Vince McMahon dies, which would inevitably happen, you're going to need somebody who knows what the fuck they're doing to be able to take this company over into the next generation. And, I have full confidence in Nick Khan. Yeah, there's some certain things that we probably won't agree with, but hey, we're wrestling fans. We are some of the most bitchinest, complainingest, like freaking fake ass fantasy booking people, but we love the product and we'll always come back like an abusive relationship. And that's just the nature of it. And I think Nick Khan understands. He understands the business. And I think that anything he has, we're going to be good. But that's pretty much all I have to say.
All right, let me go over into Matt Michaels. Are you all right with, I've been hearing a lot of Nick Khan. Are you all right with him pretty much being the head honcho, being that Stephanie is saying, hey, I want some time off?
Yeah, because I think that what wrestling fans tend to do is lump the McMahons together in the idea of booking and business and everything, as just one thing. But it primarily comes down to, it seems the fans react as if Stephanie's going away means the creative process is, oh my God, the SmackDown lost their creative person. But the truth is that Stephanie hasn't done anything on creative forever.
Yep.
No, not never. She was, but it's been years. It's been a number of years since she left that portion to go over to the title that she had as chief brand. Yeah. So in that being said, Nick Khan you got the right guy because he knows sports. Now you've got another executive coming in who was one of the heads of Disney. All right. So you have now another person who will be very much looking over, I believe, the marketing aspect of things. So when you look at that, you have an entertainment person and a sports person. Eventually, everyone likes to jump to, oh, they're going to sell the company. They don't have to sell the company. All right. When you have this kind of structure, then you have other people running the aspects of the business that, that Vince and, the family, and then some of the close associates of Vince who have passed on, or had to retire because they're, everyone who worked with Vince outside of, Pritchard, and Pritchard's even in his 60s now, everyone's getting older. So that old regime's out. You want to set the company up for success. Notice Stephanie still has a huge portion where once the company continues to make more money, that little brick of 2.5% or whatever it was, I mean, Jesus, it's already over 100 million. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
So in those regards of the business, I think everything's fine. I also think that, Sean here did say, and it was a point that I was definitely thinking about, and that's the kids. The oldest right now, she's high school age. I can't imagine a mother who can take the time away from the company wouldn't want to do that. That's the whole thing. And let's face it, how many years did she lose of watching the kids grow up? I can't wait until their nanny writes a book. I think that would be fascinating to read.
Right.
So I think it's a very interesting way of putting it out there that she's stepping away, and you have to just kind of breathe and go, does it really affect anything? And really it doesn't. We've touched on everything else, Hunter's health, and the other thing too is Stephanie is someone who I think got a little bit more of Vince's aggression in terms of work. And, Shane has been always kind of a balance. He's left, he's come back, he's been fired, he's come back. It's that type of thing where Shane is kind of his own person in a sense, but Stephanie really is identified with the brand. And right. I think that, when you get to a point, and another thing that hasn't been brought up is something that's been speculated a little bit. Could it be Vince's health or Linda's health? That, maybe they're, taking a step back, maybe, just kind of, there to kind of not have to do business, but can be there if anything's needed.
Yeah.
I'm sure Vince's diapers need changing nowadays. So.
Let me ask you all just a quick question, and pretty much just the end of the show. And this is just a straight yes or no. You don't have to really go deep into it. I just want to know yes or no. When Vince McMahon is no longer able to do anything in WWE, are you guys okay with WWE not being ran by a McMahon? That's the question. No McMahon at all. No Steph, not Shane.
Can you clarify? Can you clarify the business or the creative? The
operations, you mean?
Operations. I would. Let's look. So this will be television wise. Let's look at it. Creative.
It has nothing to do with creative. That's my feeling with the McMahons. If they're gone, someone, either one of them will be in creative, or someone who has been groomed will get into creative. I think that more so.
Okay, so your answer is no.
Yeah, I think more so it's the business that's that
the other two want to answer. that.
Can you restate the question? Because I feel like the question morphed into two different statements. Is it just me?
No,
Are
it's
you
not
guys
just-
okay? So after there's Vince McMahon no longer is able to do anything within the company, are you okay with WWE being not being ran by a McMahon? So Stephanie's not involved, Shane's not involved. It's whoever, Nick, whoever.
Yes.
You'll be okay
Yes.
with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Yes, without a doubt, yes.
Gotcha.
Sean brought a good question up. That is what has gone on with WWE stock since this announcement. It's up. It's up, Sean. It's up to looks like $60.91, which is roughly up a little bit from where it was. Roughly a little bit where it was on Monday. It was down to it was 58.24. So it's gone up.
I believe it. I believe it.
Which is key considering most of the stock market is actually down.
Yeah, that's a great point.
I will also say this again. I said it when we first started this podcast, within the first 100 episodes. I remember we had a conversation like this, and I said that within the next 5 years, wrestling will evolve to the next level. This is what we're seeing it. And please, when y'all ever get a chance to listen, let me know what episode it was, because I've been combing through our archives and having to find. I know I said it, and because I know Michael shut me down for a second, but I think it's the way I put it in context. This is the new evolution, and AEW, dare I say, is part of that. And what they do in the next 3 years, I think you're going to start seeing wrestling as just a main stage, just differently, just being run differently.
Really quick, one of the things about I think something was said about the punishment for Sasha and Naomi, and this is something that we were just talking about Triple H that I find really interesting about wrestling fans. It's always associated that Triple H got punished for the curtain call.
The click,
right?
Yeah.
And then what is usually said? He got put into like a hog pen match, right? You guys realize that the hog pen match was actually December 17th, 1995, and the curtain call was in May of 96.
Wow.
So this is the kind of shit that happens with wrestling where stuff has just been accepted as truth.
Yep.
And it's not a fact. So when we look at all this and we have these arguments and stuff, this stuff is just fun for us to have these arguments and fun. And I do have it, in mind that, listen, in the end, it really doesn't affect us, right? Because we're not making money from them. It's not our jobs. So all we can do is have fun with it. And if we stop having fun with it, then, it's time to move on to Chippendales here in Las Vegas, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't seen the show, it is on fire.
And let me tell you, there's an open audition Thursday nights for Dad Bod Nation.
Well, guys, listen. First off, let me thank everybody for hanging out and with us, and ultimately, like it was just said, this is pure entertainment. That's why we do this. None of us gets any paychecks for this. We do this purely just for fun, something to talk about, and we're glad that you're here to join with us. It's good that all of us don't sit and agree, because if we agree on everything, this would be very boring, and then we would have no one listening, because they'd be like, "Oh, I agree." So sometimes you're going to have those debates. So we appreciate you for being a part of that. If you happen to be coming to Las Vegas Memorial Day weekend, or even before the weekend, we always ask you definitely to drive safely. People seem to act a little bit cray-cray on the road during the time where there's lots of people on the road. Just be safe. A lot's going to be going on this weekend, but we're out of everything that'll be going on. We're definitely calling out a lot of wrestling that would take place, starting with AEW's Dynamite on Wednesday, which would be at the Michelob Arena, and that's pretty much where the Mandalay Bay is, and then you also have Rampage there, and then you will have the Double or Nothing at T-Mobile Arena on Sunday. But for the rest of the week, you're also going to have lots of great indie wrestling. Future stars of wrestling will be putting on shows. GCW will be putting on shows. A lot of those will be taking in the same, I believe it's the Silver Nugget Casino. So if you want more information, we will have it on our social media. You also can look at some of these other social medias as well. But definitely come out, and you may see any one of us there. If you see one of us in our Vegas Bad Boy shirt, come and say hello. We would love to just meet our listeners in whatever capacity, if it's online or if it's just regular podcast. Just come through and say hello. We will be out and about while all of this is going on. All right, so we appreciate that. With that, we're going to get into our final thoughts for the evening, and let's kick it off with our very own Simon Street. What do you want to tell the peoples?
Well, everybody, goes without saying, got a lot of wrestling coming up. It's super exciting for every one of us. And, outside of all that, it's also Memorial Day weekend. So continue to be safe out there and try to be kind to one another, because there's a lot of crazy shit that happens in this world. And that quick couple of minutes of just walking away from an argument, or maybe not honking at somebody, or just, whatever the case that would make you come out of yourself. Try to turn to your better side and your humanity, because really humanity equals a good heart equals good vibes, and good vibes equals a good time.
No doubt. Thank you. Well said. Sin City Steve.
Thank you guys for hanging out with us tonight. Thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing, doing all the shit that you guys do. We genuinely appreciate each and every single one of you. Thank you. Also, special thank you and special shout out to all the brave men and women serving this country. Whether you're on lands foreign or domestic, thank you for doing what you do so that we can do what we love to do. We appreciate you. And last but certainly not least, repsports.com, reppsports.com. Go there for all of your pre-workout, weight loss, and general energy needs. Again, that's repsports.com. Use promo code Vegas at checkout and save yourself 15%.
No doubt. Thank you, Sin City. Matt Michaels.
This is so one of the guys I know was watching, and he has a little inside knowledge into the Stephanie situation. This is so apparently what was released wasn't from Stephanie herself. It was from the WWE as a statement under her account. I guess it says so early on Tuesday morning, Stephanie apparently walked into Vince's office and laid down her title of chief brand officer, and she walked out on the company. So there you go.
Yeah.
And next, you're going to tell me that the same people who are running AEW social media found a way to become hackers and hacked into WWE's social media and did this to Stephanie.
Well, just ask Johnny Gargano.
Fucking love you, man.
Well played.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much, and we will see you all. We'll have some programming coming for you this week, so just keep it locked on all of our social media and everything. Until then, happy wrestling to you all. Happy Memorial Day, and we'll see you next time. Peace.